everybody. It's Nolan with Roofers Paradise. I've got Devan Gallardo here with All Exteriors Inc. out of Denver, Colorado. So is it go by, hang on, let me look at this real quick, Devan. So it's All Exterior Solutions. I'm sorry.
Yes, correct.
I knew I had that a little bit wrong. So All Exterior Solutions out of Denver. But mainly, are you guys doing roofing, right? Is the primary, or you do,
Yep.
but you'll do some Exactimate bidding on other things around the house?
Yes, definitely. We're essentially all exterior solutions, so we'll take care of anything exterior for you.
Okay.
Our bread and butter is obviously roofing, but we do windows, siding, gutters, power washing, fence.
Wow.
We'll build patios. We're a one-stop shop. We like to tell it to our customers.
Yeah, I know it's gotten way more popular, I think, just because of Exactimate and insurance bidding for all exterior stuff. And I know, aren't there some insurance things that you can actually collect better money too if you don't have the word roofing in the name? I don't know. In all states, I'm not sure, but okay. So if you don't mind,
it gives us more of a generalized GC aspect rather than just roofing, and it gives us a lot more variety when the homeowners are calling us as well.
Right.
We're not just limited when people, oh, I need my roof done, but I also need someone that can handle my siding. So let's give instead of the guy that says Colorado Roofing or something, let's give All Exterior Solutions a call, because it sounds like they do everything exterior.
So in my opinion, and we can talk about this in a minute, but in my opinion, you're maybe the most competitive market in the nation. There's a couple of them that are super competitive, like Dallas-Fort Worth, where I live, Collin County above Dallas. If anybody follows hail, you know that county, Plano, Frisco. And then there's Denver and kind of north of Denver, I see all the time. Denver area in general, though. And then I think a lot of roofers go to Denver and they're like, oh, I love it here, I'm going to open up a location. So I personally know that happens, because I was like, oh, we're going to Denver. And I'm like, and so they'll go there, work a location, love the city, and stay. People do that with Florida too, by the way. They go to Florida, work a storm. They go, oh man, I'm going to start I love Florida. I'm going to start a location. So Florida, Denver, those are the places where people go and move to or start a location. And it ends up being an inordinate amount of extra competition in these markets because of it. But before we get into that, tell me how you got started, if you don't mind, like how you got into roofing.
Well, I was 15 years old, working with a friend of mine. Offered me a summer job with his father, who owned a roofing company, and we just tore off roofs all summer and helped with the labor work. It was definitely hard work. I remember my first day, I said, I never want to do roofing again in my life, because it was so hard. And here I am 18 years later, and running, my own business. And it's been great.
I bet you can manage some sub crews though, right? Nobody pulls one over you, throws away a bag of shingles to charge you. That probably doesn't happen to you. The other shoots two nails in one side and pops another one. Like, you're not susceptible to all the little tricks of the subs, I wouldn't think, are you?
Definitely not, but it's getting my project managers up to speed on some of the things that subcontractors do. So that's a teaching and learning experience that falls into my new guys.
I mean, that's got to be a pretty big competitive advantage for you. But so I mean, if you flat out had to, you can get up on the roof and tell exactly what's going on. I a lot of guys, I'd say more guys probably enter roofing from a sales side. So they go sales. I talk to way fewer guys that enter it from installation side, but I find the installation guys fascinating. I think that they've got a competitive advantage on management of the installation of the job. I mean, I would feel pretty comfortable if a guy had done that for years and then got into it, was in roofing for years. So you had so you said this is a family business on your website. Is it more than just you running the show, or do you have multiple family members, or just one or two? Or
so majority of my staff is family and friends. My mom, she takes on the office manager role. My sister is a project manager, so she goes out and sells. watches the builds, so on and so forth.
That's
I
cool.
have a lifetime long friend who I've known since I was born, essentially. He's one of my top sales guys.
Right.
And I have a couple other great friends that are, that sell for me. And so, yeah, I definitely keep it close to home. Great opportunity to give my friends and family the opportunity to make money and be successful.
Let's talk about sales. Do you guys, I know you guys do marketing with us at Roofing Webmasters, but do y'all knock doors and do other things? Like, are y'all door knockers?
Yes, definitely. We like to hit the markets when a storm comes, or if we know that there's pockets of areas that have old damage, 3-tab, that's definitely a good prime area for these older homes and neighborhoods. Definitely want to give homeowners the opportunity to get those lower premiums by getting an upgraded roof.
Right. Yeah, I always had respect for door knockers. And frankly, anybody that worked hard. I mean, I grew up doing painting curbs and mowing lawns. I wish I'd have roofed, because then maybe I'd have gotten into roofing a long time ago. I tried. Let me rephrase it. I thought about getting into roofing early on with me doing marketing for roofers, because I think almost anybody that gets around roofing is like, man, that doesn't look too bad. Like people will look at it, whether it's a sales guy, installation guy. I was a marketing guy. I was like, man, that looks good. I'm talking to somebody right now who is, I know a CPA that got into roofing, and a guy called me yesterday who got into partnership with his accountant, because and I will tell you that my accountant will often talk about how well because they look at the tax returns, like the roofing looks pretty good, you know? So I know it draws a lot of people in there, but okay. So do you have anything like, you've been doing this for how many years now? Like 18 years?
Yeah, yep. I'm almost to 19 since the day I picked up my first, pitchfork and tore off, some good old roofs.
How long have you owned your own business? Like, have you been your own boss?
I opened up doors February 17th of 2020,
Okay.
a month before COVID hit.
Yeah, there you go. Good timing, right? I mean,
Right.
really, seriously good timing though. For real, people were all scared, but it probably was the best time to open any home contracting, home service business. I mean, everything exploded, right? Has
Yeah.
it slowed down much from COVID in this year for you guys at all? By the way, are people still working on their own home because they can't find a home, or they're stuck in their house or whatever? Are you still finding people working on their house a lot right now? I feel like they
Um,
are here in Dallas Fort Worth, but
yeah, definitely. The way the market is right now with, homes in such high demand, a
mm,
lot of people are having to fix up their homes and properties to sell these homes. Um, the market here is just insane. It's starting to seem to slow down a little bit and
it is.
balance it out so much, not so much a seller's market. The
Right.
interest rates are going back up a little
But
bit,
that's
but
just been in the last few weeks, kind of last month or two, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. This is and not to get off on a soapbox on my own stuff, but these are times like possibly coming up is when you want to be hardcore with your marketing. All the contractors have gotten to take for granted that they just get called all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'll call you back in 3 days, lady," or I moved last week, and I'm trying to get services, and I can barely get anybody to come out. But that stuff does change. Our economy goes up and down, and that stuff changes. So when things go down and there's no storm, it's nice to have your marketing on point, because you might not be fighting off business like everybody seems to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm assuming y'all get a lot of repeat business then already, or some repeat word of mouth and stuff like that. Do you get referrals from anybody like real estate agents or friends, family, church, that sort of thing? Or do y'all network kind of, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of myself and my team's job to get out there and self market, really provide that excellent service to get that referral and repeat business. That's how at the end of the day we're ultimately going to be self-sustaining, where we're getting that repeat business, people every year because we are in Colorado, we get hit with frequent storms that people are going to call us again because they had a great experience with us, and they're going to send their friends and family because they trusted us.
Did y'all have a storm this last year? And
It was a very marginal storm. Still nothing big. We haven't seen anything. I know you guys are very blessed over there with the hail, and you guys have already gotten hit this year. So far,
I don't know. It wasn't. We haven't had horrible hail. There's always hail in Dallas Fort Worth, but we haven't had horrible hail. I was joking about this the other day, but I don't think it's bad to pray for hail because it's an act of God anyway. So it's like, how can it be bad to pray for an act of God? But anyway, but yeah, we do get hail here a lot, but you guys have more severe weather, I'd say, wouldn't you? On like, oh, let me rephrase. We have severe weather. There's tornadoes, torrential downpours, but just like the ice and snow and all that, doesn't it wreak havoc on the roofs? The roofs get killed during the wintertime sometimes?
Our biggest thing that we see is, definitely a lot of ice damming, ice built up, and quite, leaks. It's one of my most frequent calls from, work that's been done by other contractors going out and doing chasing leaks. So we definitely ramp that up and, help our customers a lot on that. And even if it's something very small and marginal, it still puts our name out there, that we're going to take care of them when, I hear a lot of stories that, these contractors drop the ball and just kind of leave their homeowners out to dry, and they're, tasked to have to go find someone else to get them taken care of, even when they're warranted. I've heard every story of how them to get out of their warranty that they offer these homeowners.
Yeah. So you guys will go out and fix stuff on you. I read on, you guys said you'll do a 5-year warranty if they have a leak or something like that.
Yeah.
Nolan Walker here for Roofers Paradise. So I'm looking for podcast guests for Roofers Paradise, and I'd like to hear from you. If you're a roofer or somebody in the industry that's looking to talk about their product, I'd like to hear from you. If you're a roofer and you want to tell your story, I'd love to speak with you. Also, we will blog and put a link back to your website, give you a little juice. It'll help you out, and it'd be great for you to get on here and tell your story and just to have it recorded. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Look us up on roofersparadise.show, email us, and we'll call you back.
So I have a couple of things that I'll get into in a minute, but I wanted to ask you a few more questions. So I always like to ask if you have, well, let me start here. Do you have any advice that you would give, things you wished you'd have done different earlier on that you've learned after 18 years? So what would you have done differently if you'd have known, like to help maybe somebody coming up?
My biggest thing would be, soak in all the knowledge you can. Don't take those training classes that your companies are offering for granted. Go to every meeting or every conference or every training course that you possibly can, because there's always something new to learn. I will not pretend like I know everything, and I learn something new every day. So it's great knowledge, and it's only going to make you better as a whole.
Yeah, I would. So this topic for me goes a little, I'll expand on it a little bit. I was talking to a guy the other day. We did a podcast, and he's up and running again. He had gone out of business for certain reasons, and he's up again, but it takes time, and it's not, there's nothing shameful about that. I was just listening to, I talk about him a lot because I follow Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think he's great, but he was talking about people that aren't rich believe that failure is a problem. People that are rich know that they need to fail a lot. So the quicker and the faster the failures come, you gain expertise, and then you finally position yourself to be able to earn money. And even though we never quit learning, you need to be able to become an expert for a lot of reasons. So you can run your company properly, take in knowledge. It exudes through your being when you're, through your vibration, when you're talking to somebody. If you're confident in what you do, if you're not skilled and have that, you're going to sell less, you're going to do more poorly, you're going to get worse reviews. People are going to be able to sense it from you. So as you become a trained and skilled person, it helps everything. It helps you run your business. It helps you make sales. It helps you communicate with people. I certainly didn't do as well until I became highly skilled. And I absolutely know that I still have to work and continue to do things. Hence this podcast. It's new. Needed a different format. And I pointed this out on several podcasts. I think it's a testament to anybody who comes on the podcast with me. You don't know if you're going to make any money on this podcast or because of it, but you're putting yourself out there and you're trying, right? But it's something new. Like, I'm going to go try that. I'm going to talk to Nolan. But you didn't say, oh, I don't do that. Once you start getting older and you start throwing off, oh, we don't do this, we don't do that. I'm going to judge this, judge that. You just all of a sudden get left behind, and you're like, what happened? You wake up one day, you're like, what happened? I've actually had this happen before. I wake up and say, what happened? I remember one time when I was in home security, I came into work, was complaining about not having any leads because I've always been interested in marketing. And this sales guy, I felt like an idiot. He pulled out an old yellow pad. I still write on. So he pulled out it, but he had a big one. He had the big yellow pad, and he'd handwritten down. He said, "Hey, Nolan, I think I know why we don't have leads." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." He said, "Well, you canceled your direct mail. You canceled this. You canceled Yellow Page. This was a long time ago." And I'd canceled everything because I thought I knew everything, and I was, but somebody had to draw it to my attention. But you always have to keep learning, moving forward. For me, marketing's been a huge part of my life and got me to where got me in the business. Like, that's all I think about and worry about. But when you're running a roofing business, you have to do everything. Like, even come on a podcast, you don't know where it's going to lead, but you have to do it. It's like, if you don't learn new things and learn categories, that guy yesterday was talking about that too. People will just try to do one thing, but you have to steer this ship that's your roofing company in order for it to be profitable. And if you leave massive categories or stones unturned and you don't know any product or any sales, or you're scared to door knock, or you don't know how to market at all, or you can't do your taxes, right? Just one of those things blow up your whole business,
Oh yeah, I agree.
So my dad's a CPA, never liked doing tedious book work because I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like doing book work, but that's another Robert Kiyosaki thing. He's like, I get sick of people saying, do what you love, do what you love. And you do what you maybe like, but in what you like, there's stuff that you don't like, right? Like, you didn't like tearing the shingles off, but it led to where you are. You started down the road and it led to where you are. What thing did you have to work on that you didn't like in order for your business to do as well as it needed to do? Do you have any examples or something like taxes or anything? Or
My biggest thing that I had to get over, because like I said, I came from the production side, is I had to get comfortable with talking to people. I had to get comfortable. I was never a salesman.
Yeah.
I hate salesmen. I hate the fact of trying to sell somebody something that that they maybe can't afford. But what I love about roofing so much that I learned is we're not selling anything. We're offering a service. They know they need it. They
Right.
know insurance is going to get them taken care of and they're covered. We're just offering them our service at a great quality product, and someone that they can trust and they can put their faith into. So it definitely helped me get over that fear and remorse of not wanting to sell.
So you're
I think
probably an introvert like me. So you're not an extroverted person. You don't go out of your way to like go seek out a conversation with a stranger. And I'm the same way.
yeah.
So I would argue that people like to talk to people like me and you. And I feel the same way you feel. I don't like to sell. I don't consider myself a salesperson, but I've been told many times that I'm one of the greatest people for sales that they've spoken to. And I believe that I'd become that way because any business owner essentially has to sell their service, has to sell their product, right? So, and people want to talk to you because you're serious with intention and you're not pushy as an introvert. But if you can come across with like gratitude and graciousness and like not being pushy, but have skills and expertise and passion, people will want to do business with you. If you mess that stuff up too much, they may not Let me put on my do not disturb. There we go. But I think people want to talk to introverts. So anybody listening to this that's an introvert, if you have passion for what you do and you're skilled and you care about the client and the service that you provide, that is exactly who they want to talk to. I would argue opposite too, that people, at least for a sale, like I might like an extroverted friend, especially if I'm hanging out, or doing something, they're fun to hang out with. But if I'm buying a product or a service, I don't want a pushy extroverted person up in my grill. I'm not looking for that. So I like a pensive, thoughtful person that cares about what they're doing. They make me feel better,
Mhm.
So it's interesting. I never really have even talked about that, but I think that's interesting and thanks for sharing it, but that, a lot of us are uncomfortable with, well, I think most people, and haven't you heard that? We've all heard that. Most people are more afraid than public speaking than death, right? Have you heard that before?
Yep. I would agree. I'm one of those as well. Public
I'd
speaking is
rather
definitely
not
hard.
die personally. I'll publicly speak before I die, but I don't want to do either. I don't want to die or publicly speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting one. I had something. I'm going to talk about this for a minute, and because I'm passionate about this stuff. And if you have anything to share, you can. Part of the podcast is Paradise is not really fun. I have my dreams. You have your dreams. I'm interested in I've always been interested as an entrepreneur in what makes other people tick and why they're working. And I know that dreams change as time goes on. As I reach echelons, I up it and up it and up it. I don't know. I'll find out when I've reached a level of lifestyle, money, comfortability, when I feel like I'm full. But right now I'm not full. And as I get more stuff, I want more stuff. And it's not just stuff, but I want lifestyle and freedom, So I like to make money because it allows me to have lifestyle and freedom. And when I take care of my clients and I run a good business, it helps me move towards these goals. But I'm going to read something here because I've had it up on my wall forever. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this guy's not alive anymore, I don't think. His name's Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn. And if you follow some self-help people on Instagram, you'll see this guy every once in a while. And I'm going to quote him here. He says, "Here's the big challenge with life. You can have more than you got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge." And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. Income doesn't far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out to where it is, it will usually come back to where you are, meaning you lose your money. Like success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself, personal development. And so that was this quote by Jim Rohn, and it essentially means, we talk about learning as much as possible. I've made money, I've lost money. I had to lose money before I figured out how to keep money. So I had a lot of money when I was in my early 30s. I'm 49 years old. I lost most of that money because I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't experienced and I didn't have a mentor to help me with it. And it just kind of goes away. Money just kind of leaves the person that can't handle it. And one of the things that I like to talk about on these podcasts is what people's plans are. I know I wanted to go in this a little bit more because I talked about it the other day, but if somebody has income from a business, you can't just make that forever. Income is hard to keep. You have to have a passive investment like real estate or stocks or something that will grow without you doing anything as well. Without it's I guess it's secured by an asset and it requires less work of your effort.
Nolan Walker here for Roofing Webmasters. You may not know, but I own a digital marketing agency named Roofing Webmasters. We've been doing this for 12 years. I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of roofers. We've got hundreds of satisfied clients right now, and we'd love to add you to our client mix. I tell you what, we'll help you with your design, your content, your code base, your SEO, your ranking on Google, your map ranking, all that stuff. We also have software called Data Pins that we wrap into it. We are one of the only legit agencies out there that actually help people. Everybody that we have is month to month for a monthly fee on an ongoing basis. You'll get an assigned account rep, and our team of 15 people will help you get as dominant as we can. If you've never had proper digital marketing agency support, you owe it to yourself to call us at Roofing Webmasters or email. Look us up online, roofingwebmasters.com, and give us a call when you're ready.
But do you have plans on, if, you know, when you make income, do you have plans on real estate or rentals or apartment units or Airbnbs? I'm just curious of what long-term plans are, because you got to have it, because eventually you won't work, whether you're 60 or 70 or 80. And by the way, if people don't have a plan for this, they will work until they die. That is the other option. You'll work till you die, or you'll have an investment plan, because you can't make income forever, but you can invest and get money.
Yeah.
So do you have an option? I'm just curious. You don't have to share anything personal, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, actually, that's a great subject that you brought up. I've actually already have worked towards that. I have, you know, some investments in stocks and an IRA, retirement plan, 401k. I have that all set up. I do have a rental property
Oh, cool.
already set up. I have a plan of buying rental properties, you know, at least one a year, and have that as residual income. I am looking into a couple different investments. I've been speaking with a couple other entrepreneurs to be essentially a silent partner, buying in as an investment to their business. Because one thing that I always live by is any successful multimillionaire has at least 7 sources of income. And that is my goal to get to that.
Yeah, I've read that too. And if you're like me, Devin, I don't feel comfortable until I have a lot of that on the side. Like, I'm not 100% yet to where, if everything blows up next year and whatever, that I'm like, I don't care. I'm good. I still worry about it, right? Like, you worry about economic changes, what's coming, keeping expenses low, making sure you're profitable, stuff like that. But I do believe you can get diversified enough to where you're like, I'm going to Antigua next month. I don't care anymore. You know, everything will be fine. But that's a pretty tall order to feel that way. I mean, that'd be quite a bit of money and quite a bit of diversification. But you pretty much touched on all of it. I mean, I think people overcomplicate it. You get a financial advisor, you put some money in stocks, probably don't mess around with it too much yourself, because you're gambling at that point. If you just throw money at stocks, you're kind of gambling, right?
Oh yeah.
Because unless you're extremely educated, you're gambling. I think it's okay to have a few gambles, like, oh, I'll gamble on some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but it's a gamble. There's no basis for it, right?
Yeah.
But a financial advisor, couple of rental homes, Airbnb rental, a side investment like you're talking about, that's about all you can do. There isn't much else. People, I think I overcomplicated it, and I looked at the income I was making off my business, and I did nothing. I got paralyzed in fear. I said, well, I'm gonna buy one rental home. It only makes me $200 a month. And I just made back when I was doing a home security, I just made $100,000 a month. How's $200 a month? So I overanalyzed it and did nothing. And then money sitting in a bank account just kind of goes away. Even if you don't do fancy stuff, it just goes away,
Yeah, it just starts disappearing. You start buying little things here and there, and all of a sudden it just vanishes.
Stuff. Yeah, it's dumb stuff. Like, I told that story before, but I had somebody buying fancy pens. I buy cheap pens from my office. Somebody bought fancy pens. I spent $200 a month in fancy pens when I had a staff of 30 people, because they'd go buy the most expensive pens the Office Depot had on my credit card. But little things like that, or just an extra employee, an extra truck, not turning the lights off when you leave, little stuff. And it just, a bigger office, it just goes away. And there's nothing wrong with buying a truck, bigger office, but you'd better secure it with some sort of passive income or hard asset. Like, my brother is in the flooring business, and he buys flex space, like R-panel buildings with an office and an overhead door. And so then he rents out space to contractors, and he does fabulously well with it. But it was an accident. He ended up with he had to have a lot of square footage to store carpet, right? And flooring. So he ended up with like one side of the street with like 20,000 square feet of building, and he buys the other side. It's got like 25,000. He ended up with like an acre or more under roof. And it ended up being brilliant because he's got all that. I notice over the years when I see people retire or sell their company, they only have the building they're in, the rental property they bought. That's about it, right? That's the retirement. It's like, oh, I have the building I bought, and thank God I bought like 2 or 3 rental homes. And then they're kind of, they don't have enough, they end up with that, like that real estate. Most of these guys don't have stocks or anything else. And most of the people that sell a business end up having to start up another business because they're like, oh, I'm selling my roofing business. And then they're like, oh, life costs more than I thought it did. I'm going to start up again. And then they start up again. Even if they're 70, they start up again, So anyway, thanks for discussing that. I like to talk about it because I'm getting better at this myself, and I feel successful at this point. But I like to talk about that because it was something that if I had played my cards right back when I was 30, 31, 32, 33, I mean, I don't know how much money I'd have. It just would have been ridiculous because we were doing so well. But you can't make that income forever. That income comes and cycles and comes and goes. And then someday your health might fail you or something else. But the good news is if you haven't done that to this point well enough, most people in roofing can have another good year, have a good year after that, right? Have a storm. I always say the storms are like ballers, like pro ballers. A roofer makes like storm money in there, their head explodes and they go spend all of it. So.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've definitely seen with so many companies come and go because of that. They get a big storm, back in like 2018, for instance, that was our last massive storm. And, I seen, competition, sales guys, everyone just buying all this fancy stuff. And it's like, you got to be smart with that, because the next year might not be like that. And it's honestly been, 4 years since we've had a good storm. So that's been small pickings for everybody. So if you don't invest it into something else or manage your money well, you can definitely put yourself.
I'll take it as a segue. I got one more. All right. So, and then I'm interested to hear about expense structure and stuff for you, if you can share without getting too personal in your business. But I get this all the time, and I want to bring it up because people that are roofer business owners that are studying with coaches or watching social media, stuff like that, they'll say, oh, delegate. And I have coaches tell me this, Nolan, delegate. Nolan, you work too much. Nolan, delegate. It doesn't mean that I don't have 15 people here or 20 people doing stuff. Like people make websites, write content, write software code, deal with clients. I have people doing stuff. That's not the point. But people tell me, like business coaches or other people that I know will say, delegate sales, delegate this, what are you, and anybody that I can think of, like down to Elon Musk and stuff, they're working hard. Like they're all working, right? So even the biggest guys are working. The Jeff Bezos isn't like shipping your product out to you and like taping up a box, but he's working, right? So things change as you go. But for me, and I'm going to explain this from a roofer perspective, because I think it's the same for me. I just provide a service for people basically, right? And I have to manage people and human beings to do labor to put out a service. And if you're not heavily involved with aspects of your business, you will lose your shirt by expenses, gobbling up all the profits and inefficiencies and lower conversion, right? So you're not going to give every good lead to some new sales guy, right? And where Devan's not, oh, I'm too big shot. I'm big shot. Here's 10 leads, guy. Go blow out 8 of them, even though I would have sold, 5 of them, 4 of them. So you can't have somebody. So you would have sold 4 out of 10. Some other guy sells 2 out of 10. You lose your shirt, right? You lose your shirt. And but everybody says, go delegate. Oh, I've got this guy running this department, that guy running that department. I have people running some departments too, but I'm working my butt off, watching stuff, managing, watching my back, checking up on people, doing checks and balances. Every once in a while I go do their job or look at stuff I don't want to do, like I don't want to do it, but I do also, we're talking about doing the sales. So I'm heavily invested and involved in my business so that my product is top quality, and so my expenses are low. And if I can't churn out top quality service and have low expenses, I can't make money. Now, I might make some money, but I'm talking, and I've done this for decades. I'm talking about making like hundreds of percent more profit. So if a business could make $200,000, it might make, with an owner running it this way, 600,000 or 800,000, like completely different scenarios. So someone will say, oh, I'm profitable. But, and I'll give an example of this. There are reasons why hard labor service of any kind, whether it be in marketing or roof, especially like hard labor, like a roof back-breaking labor, like power washing, ripping off shingles, flooring, right? Ripping up tile. There's nobody that dominates that nationwide. Why? Because the labor is tough and people are incorrigible. You have to be up in the business. It prevents a roofer too from growing too big. Like somebody's like, I'm going to run 5 locations. Probably you're not unless you're one of the best business managers that ever, like 1 in 1,000, maybe 1 in 10,000 is going to run 5 locations profitably, you know, like one. So can you share anything about, I wanted to at least throw that out on the table. I don't buy all the fluffy bullshit talk that I hear about people claiming they're going to delegate everything. And if they died or took a 6-month vacation, their business would be fine. I hear it, but I don't see it. And there might be one outlier here and there, but do you have any comments on that about keeping expenses low and being involved? Do you agree with me or disagree, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you 100%. No one's going to care about your baby the way you're going to care about your baby. You may hire, some fancy sales manager, some fancy office manager, a production manager that knows every trick in the trade of the book, but they're still, at the end of the day, they're not going to care about your business the way you do. They will, spend unnecessarily. They will cut corners when
Fancy
need be.
pants. Yeah.
Yep. They will at the end of the day do what benefits them or what benefits the company.
Right.
Which is not saying that they're not gonna, do the best interest. It is great when you find somebody who believes and invests in you as much, but as far as you saying, if you die tomorrow, your company is gonna run. I don't agree with that either at all.
Yeah.
You need to be there. You're the one who started it. You're the one who took that leap of faith to say, hey, I believe in myself enough to run this. No one's going to run it as good as you. And, you need to be, with getting your hands dirty in some form, even though it's just micromanaging, overseeing everything, making sure everybody's
why do you think so many people give this lip service for this in the industry that in roofing, like, or in even mine or small business, right? Why do they talk like this, like they can do it like that? I don't get it really. And I've done this forever, and I'm not taking away from the one guy every once in a blue moon, but that's not, I'm talking about one guy out of like 100,000, or, there's a few guys that might do it. I know there's a couple of businesses like Tecta and some others. Hey, Nolan, you're wrong. Tecta does it. Well, man, they're dealing with $1 million deals. They got nationwide contracts. It's a little bit different, that they're able to do it. You don't know what their profit margins are each year. I don't know what they are, but who knows if they're as profitable as some guy that runs one state for commercial, But do you think people just like the sound of it? But because we're not like Apple Computer or Coca-Cola or Microsoft, we're small business dealing with human beings to perform the labor, But why do you think people talk about it all the time? Because I think people waste a fortune trying to get there,
Yeah, and I agree. I think that people like to say that because they want. It's a great opportunity to scale yourself faster and bigger. I've heard it from a lot of trainings as well. Within the first week of opening your doors, you need to have this, and this, and that person set in place, and just let it run itself, and then go to a different state.
Have you seen it work for anybody? Have you seen anybody do that?
No, I've seen it. I've seen people grow too fast, and they implode because They put high expectations, push it, fast. Even sales guys hiring 30 guys all at once, and they maybe keep like 2 people.
Right.
And it's an implosion. It works, yeah, 1 out of every 10 times. But majority often the time not, it doesn't work because you just end up imploding, trying to force puzzle pieces together that don't fit just to make the picture whole, and it ends up falling apart.
I wanted to talk about it because it came up the other day. I'm not telling people not to structure their business. That's not what I mean. But I think there's this talk about this. There's this fluffy talk about it, and it's not usually true ever, like hardly ever. And it also doesn't mean if somebody has their business structured this way that it's that profitable. Like I'd rather have a business that had like a 50% margin on it for profitability. Or if you're talking roofing and had a gross profit margin of like 40%, if I can pull like 22% off the table, then I would be to have this massive thing that pulled like 12% off the table. I don't want to deal with the volatility of the high expense structure and the stress of it, because I also think that when people do this type of thing, you're talking about investments. I don't know everything about your business by any means, but I know that if you were in massive growth mode all the time doing all this, I know you wouldn't even be able to think about doing a 401k or buying a rental house. You'd be so busy with expansion that you wouldn't be able to invest the money that you made,
Mm-hmm.
So people don't realize that either. You can't just push your business. So you keep pushing eventually, if you keep pushing, the profits go down, and you take your eye off the ball of the end goal, which is to be able to retire, which means you have to invest your money. So anyway.
Nolan Walker here for DataPens, DATAPINS, that's datapens.com. It is software that was literally made for a roofer for ultimate organic domination. You can put it on every phone you have out in the field. There's also a desktop version of it. Anybody can use it. It takes 90 seconds. You take up to 6 photos of a job, write a quick caption like roof replacement with GAF HD Timberline shingles. You put in your client's cell phone and or email and tag your roof replacement page and your city page and hit pin. It automatically grabs the geo coordinates, wraps it in schema. Looks like a red pin drop, but to Google it looks like a digital hand raise. Hey Google, we were here. By the way, here's several photos of the job, which by the way count as unique content. And here's what we did, a roof replacement with GAF HD Timberline shingles. Also, it posts back to the Google account itself with the caption and the photos, and it shoots an email and text back to the client saying, please review us on Google or BBB with a couple of links and choices of review sites. All this is awesome stuff. So now regularly, imagine having this done 30 times, 50 times a month, and Google sees fresh content, fresh pictures, fresh geo coordinates. Even if a client doesn't leave you a review, which 9 out of 10 probably won't, every client becomes valuable to you at this point because you're getting valuable organic signaling. A geo coordinate as a digital hand raise, this validates your map area, and with fewer reviews helps you go into the PAC3 map rankings. It also expands the amount of times a map can show up because of the organic keywords, and the keywords help the organic underneath the map show up as well. DataPens is simply fantastic. It makes blogging look horrible. This is the type of signaling that helps people get dominant on Google. And if you've never gotten dominant on mapping and organic and reputation reviews on Google, you've got to try DataPens. Look it up, datapens.com. If you're interested, call us or email us. We'll see you later.
Do you have any story you feel like sharing? Good story, bad story, interesting story about roof related stuff or business related? I don't know. Somebody falling off a roof, stepping in something. I don't know. Or a bad client, good client. You don't have to mention names. I just wonder if you have any stories.
One of the great things that I always like to tell is there's never a bad lead. One of my good stories is I got a call from, it was actually a referral from the very first homeowner that I took care of when I opened up doors. She liked my work so well, she referred me to her ex-husband. He had just needed to a small repair on his, he needed drip edge because the previous contractor didn't put drip edge on the gutters, and he wanted to get that replaced. I said, yeah, we'll definitely go out there. We'll look at that. I'll give you a bid for repair, just installing that. I got up on his roof, looked at his roof as I was doing it, noticed that there was, massive hail damage on his roof,
Right.
and looked up the most recent storm date. He was within his storm date to file a claim, and ended up turning from a small repair to a full replacement with, detach and reset solar, got his gutters replaced, downspouts, pretty much the whole kit and caboodle. Turned in from probably maybe $1,000 repair to ended up, I think it was close to $40,000. So
Wow. So
the
that
way
was
I like to,
one of the first jobs you did, huh?
oh, that went into my second year, but the referral came from my very first job.
Wow.
And just providing that excellent service shows that you get repeat business and referrals.
Right.
That lady, bless her heart, actually has sent me over 10 referrals that I've done.
Wow. That's,
So,
that's nice.
if someone gives you that first opportunity, you give them the best quality of work you can, and you just continue to give that same quality of work. And
Yeah,
that's why I pride myself so much from keeping that 5-star review on Google, because I
Yeah.
pride myself on my work more than anything.
Yeah. I was thinking about the concept of a company's brand and persona. And it's really exist all the time. So how you carry yourself, how the labor gets done, how the digital footprint is, how your company comes across, they're judging you all the time. Like the public is looking at you all the time. It is your brand, how everything comes across, like all of it is being pushed back through, and benefit is there all the time. Like the sale is always occurring. Like I get a little too much on that, but I like when I start thinking about it, but the sale is like always there. Like your company image and brand and talking to people and interaction, that sale is always occurring. And a guy like me or a guy like you that's an introvert doesn't technically have to sell. Like I personally don't use sales close tactics. Like I don't push or ever answer. All I ever do is tell someone how to become a client. And in your case, it's like, if you'd like our services, here's our bid. We would take a check for this month and get started. So that I call it, I used to call it the come to Jesus. Like this is how you come over to, Nolan, team Nolan, you want to come over here. This is how you do it. That's the only thing I do. Everything else comes from just the brand, the feeling people get, the information that they have,
Yeah.
So that lady probably knew she was your first client, and she takes pride in it and likes to help you. I mean, that's a really nice story, actually, that your very first client feels that way about you,
Yeah.
and but she took pride in the fact that she was your first client, and it made her feel good about herself, that she was helping somebody that she liked. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's definitely great.
Anything else you want to tell anybody? Like, I don't know, any other story or any other information you want to give out, or?
Yeah, I definitely have another more recent story. It's a not so good one, but it's definitely a lesson learned. So I had a customer that, we went through the whole process with insurance, got them approved on everything. Customer came back and said, well, I would like insurance to pay for my vehicle because it got damaged as well, but I didn't have auto insurance. So I want my home policy to pay for my vehicle. And I said, okay, sir, that's not something that we handle with. It's a different policy. You have to take care of that with auto, but you didn't have any at the time. So you're probably going to have to cover your vehicle's damage out of pocket. And he says, well, I'm going to use the money for my my home policy, and I'm going to fix my car. And he said, can you give me a bid for, a lower amount, or can you just do a repair? And I said, sir, I said, your insurance already paid you out. They paid you. They're expecting the work based on the scope to get that done. Essentially that's insurance fraud. You're going to
Right.
use money
That's what I was
for
going to say. It's
something else.
insurance fraud. Yeah.
And I told them, I said, appreciate you allowing us to work with you, but at this point in time, we're going to have to part ways because what you're asking us to do is illegal, and I'm not going to put my name or my business in jeopardy,
Right.
because you want to cut corners or not do the work properly. He was very upset about that, but politely declined further working with him and left it at that. And I wished him the best.
You do not want to be, Devin, the Martha Stewart of the roofing industry in Colorado. You know what I'm saying? I mean, heck no. I might go into some grayer areas here and there of the law, but I'm not gonna go outwardly just break a law. And you don't know when here we have the Texas Department of Insurance and some other things, and you don't know when they're going to try to make an example out of somebody. I know Texas changed recently. A roofer would know better than me, but it was rampant here where they'd go like bake up extra money or take the insurance deductible off or do free work on the side, type stuff to pay for it. Everything and anything. And it got a little more teeth to it, but it's insurance fraud on both sides. My fear is that they're going to nab the roofer, not the consumer, right? The consumer may not be, the roofer's going to be the one ending up in jail or losing their license or whatever it is. Here in Texas, we don't have licenses. They'd have to just stick you in jail and scare everybody.
Right.
I think it'd be horrible if somebody went to jail for that stuff, but you don't know if they're going to do it, and it's not worth risking your business. Good for you for not, probably would have been a bad client anyway, by the way, starting out. I mean, on some level, I don't blame the guy. On another level, you don't need to jeopardize your own self though.
Yeah, it's his own fault that he didn't have auto insurance at the time.
Yeah.
You're required to have that kind of stuff. I mean, the way I like to tell it to my sales guys is, not all money is good money. If you're dealing with a very, bad customer for whatever reason or anything, sometimes it's better to walk away because it's going to cause you and the company more headache than the money's worth.
It is. Sometimes you can just tell. Well, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on here. If anybody, I always mention the naming is Devan from All Exterior Solutions out of Denver, Colorado. But man, I wish you the best. I hope you get everything you want out of life and from your roofing business, and hope it leads to greatness for you and your family. I really do. I love it when it sounds like you've got everything going just fine. You just have to stay on the path at this point, right? You just can't, got to stay on the path. And then when you bring money in, you got to keep expenses low. Next storm that comes around, remember, take the money in, and any expansion expenses need to come right back down as soon as the storm's over. If you had to bring in more people or something like that, that's the point in time. I see people all the time, Devin, that storm hits and they open another location, buy all this stuff. And it's little stuff though. It's not like it's huge, but another location, a couple of trucks and salespeople and all that, and it eats up all the cash. When that money comes in as income, you shareholder distribution, buy a duplex or something, right? Or do something with it. Maybe one
fourplex.
What's that?
A fourplex.
A quad. Yeah. I love it. I love this. I don't mind stocks a little bit. I just don't know anything about it. I wish I knew. I wish I was, but every time I think about going to buy something, I was like, this is gambling. I have so many others. I like real estate first, but once I get done with that, I guess I'll go do stocks. You want diversified portfolio, but I'll pay somebody. I'm going to pay fees on it and just pay somebody because for me, it's just straight gambling. If something huge went down, like a major stock that we all knew, and I'm like, I might try to go gamble on that. But if I try to go gamble on like a crypto or something, is like, that just feels like straight, you know what I mean? It just,
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I want some crypto too, but I just look at it all the time. Like, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? like should have bought that when it was $6,000, you know, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
We could have all bought Bitcoin at what, 3 or 6 or something. And we all knew about it back then, but nobody cared to go look at it and buy it. I remember reading a story one time about a guy that sold everything he had when it was around 6,000, bought everything he could. I never remember I don't know what happened to him though. Did he save it? Did he get rid of it too early? Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you. Again, Devan with All Exterior Solutions, thanks for sharing your stories with us. I think it's helpful for other roofers to hear this stuff. And I'll talk to you later. Call me anytime. I'd be happy to hear.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting with you today. Thank you.
Same
Have a
here.
great day.
Thanks, Devan. All right. Bye-bye.